Welcome to Mixcraft 5. This is a piece of software that allows you to create music basically by dragging loops in and then applying some different special effects and adjusting, volume and using the mixer to adjust highs, lows, and mid-tones. It's a fairly simple program, and so what we'll do is we'll take a quick look at some of the features in Mixcraft in this tutorial and then how to drag in some loops. So we won't go over everything, but you have your toolbar up here with your file, open, save type tools, undo, redo, create a disk. You can zoom in and zoom out, but there's an easier way to do that with just your roller mouse. Clip volume is here, but we'll show you how to change volume elsewhere. And then this feature called snapping is really a really great feature in this software. So you can snap, you can turn it off for one and just do it by hand, and that can create some issues, but it gives you some freedom as well. Generally the default is snap to measure, and then you can snap to half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes. And so basically it's just a shorter and shorter amount of distance in your time. So this is your timeline here for your music, and you'll basically just to be able to snap closer and closer to different types of notes. So we're going to leave it at snap to measure for now, and that will enable us to line up our clips so they will sound good and they will all be on the same beat. This is your track list. You have 8 tracks. Now sometimes when you open it up you'll get some virtual tracks where you can actually record instruments. I don't have any in here, I just have 8 tracks, and but if I wanted to add in a track, I can right click and insert new track, and there's audio track for loops. This is for recording, and then you have a video track as well. You can duplicate it and you can delete it as well just by right clicking. Down here you've got 5 different tabs. Your project tab, which has a few settings on it. The track that you're using, so you can set the color and the size, you can duplicate it, and you can freeze it, which is basically like locking it. You have different, this is where you can edit different sounds. Your mixer is where you can mix and edit your different tracks, so special effects. Your equalizer is here, left and right balance, and then volume. And then your library, which is what we originally were on. So we're going to create a song and drag some loops in. And I'll just do a few, and we'll talk about some principles of recording that can apply to this track here. So the basic idea is each track records, or in this case will play, one specific instrument. So you can drag a whole bunch of loops up and put them all on the same track, but it's really unorganized and it's really hard to figure out what it is you actually did. So the general rule is one loop or one sound per track, because you can add in multiple tracks and you don't need to put them all on one track. It's an organizational thing, but also when you go into the recording studio, that's how they do it. They record a sound, a guitar playing on one track, so they can isolate it and use it, change it, edit it, put effects on it, or not use it at all. So that's what we're going to follow when we drag our loops in. So I've chose a song kit. So there's a whole bunch of different options here. You can go by tempo, key, mood, style. But they have this song kit here, and go alphabetical order as well, or by date added, which I probably would never use. But I'm going to go by song kit because what it does is it keeps sounds that go well together and are in the same key and same time signature all in one place. And so I can create a song from that. So what I'm going to do is drag in a loop here. But what I can do first is actually play it so I can hear it. So this little button here allows me to preview it. And then this button beside it allows me to download it, because most of them are already downloaded. And then just, you can click on it again, it turns orange. You can click on that, that's your stop button. So I'm going to start out with a choir. You see it's downloading it. So I'm going to drag this change it? And generally speaking, the answer is yes. You can actually change the tempo and the key later, but it's a good idea to do that when you're done. So I'm going to click yes, and what it'll do is it'll adjust my clip to match the tempo and the beat. Now there's two ways you can look at it. You see there's two buttons up here. This shows me time, and this shows me how many beats I have. Generally speaking, I keep it on time because I'm aiming for a specific length of song. So if I'm doing, say, a 2-minute movie clip and I want a soundtrack to it, I'm going to create a 2-minute song. That would make some sense. So I drag that clip in, and then I'm going to drag this one in as well. And I can either move it by clicking on the clip itself, and I can drag it. See the arrow's white? See how it's kind of jumping? That's the snap to measure. So that's the distance of a measure in this song. Or I can drag it, and I can match it up with the same length as the first one. So I just clicked my play button here. Stop, play. This is rewind. Fast forward. And then this is beginning and end of my song. Time. So that's a pretty good beginning. Now, one of the things you can do in Mixcraft is you can color code your tracks. So down here, when I right click on it, I choose color. And what I'm going to do is make all my choir ones the same color. Again, it's just an organizational thing. It allows me to see what I've done, and it allows me to categorize them. The other thing it does is it renames the track. So instead of audio track 4, I've got choir riff. It tells me the loop that I've dragged in. So if I drag in a different loop and put it on the same track, then I won't really know what I have there because it'll only name it once. So that's the beginning of my song. Now what I'm going to do is drag something else in. So it automatically defaults to green. It automatically snaps there because I've got snap to measure on. And what you probably have noticed that there's these little white triangles here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually drag this out longer just temporarily. And you can see these white triangles appear. Now I'm going to zoom right in here. If these white triangles match up, that means that your loop is going to play at the same beat as the loop above it. If they're off a little bit, so for example, if I have snap to measure off and I do that, then these two will be off beat, and it could sound kind of weird. Just a little bit off when I do that. So I want to make sure that those triangles line up, and the easiest way to do that is have snap to measure turned on. So I'll just drag those back, and the way that I zoomed in is I just use my roller mouse. It's the easiest way to do it rather than trying to zoom in and zoom out with these. So I'm just going to gradually build a song here. And so I'm using strings right now. So I can be really picky, and since this is just called strings, I could put that color to, say, yellow. And these are violas, so I can put that to maybe a different darker color of yellow. So there is some connection, but they are actually two different tracks. So if I'm just going to do a quick short loop here, And of course I want to hear what it sounds like, so tracks, so what I'm going to need to do is insert some new ones and keep going. And I can reorganize them, drag them up and down just simply by clicking and dragging on them. And again, I'm going to change the color. Let's go to, say, lighter green. Actually, that looks like it's a little bit lighter there. And you can see the name is there as well. And so, of course, I would keep going and going and going. And you just kind of keep playing around. Right, and so that's basically the idea there. So we've built a basic song here. It's so far it's about 1 minute 20 seconds, and my goal is to get it to 2 minutes. So I would just keep dragging in loops, extending it, adding different layers until I've got a song that I essentially enjoy and want to use. So that's the basic idea. That's all you really need to know to create a song, but we'll talk about some special effects using the mixer to create a slightly different sound and add some more detail and creativity to your song in the next tutorial.